Shalom, beloved. A word. Book of Acts, chapter 2, starting at the 17th verse. In the last days it will be, God declares, that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams. Even upon my slaves, both men and women, in those days I will pour out my spirit, and they shall prophesy. Now we're going to the book of Romans, chapter 11, verse 8. According as it is written, Yahuwah has given them the Ruach, or spirit of slumber, eyes that should not see, and ears that they should not hear. For a time, once we were taken into slavery in this country, they scattered us all over the world. And as time passed by, we forgot who we were and to whom we belong. Think of a deck of cards and all of us on those slave ships. Some they scattered to the islands, others to South America, some to this continent, North America, others to England, Ireland, France, Spain, Portugal, Middle East, all over the world. They scattered us, they sold us. Some remained in Africa. We were scattered. I work with a lot of young people. Many of those who come from the islands and from other parts of the world, I notice that when they have to speak or address people, they shrink back. Because those of us who are here in America, some, not all, make them feel foreign. And they don't want to talk because of their accents. I work with a counselor. She wanted to quit because she felt like her accent, people wouldn't receive her, they looked down on her. I've met young men and women that came from South America. They look just like you and me. And when they spoke, I was shocked. They could only speak Spanish or Portuguese, and we had to get a translator. And they too shrunk back, because many of us here in America, Buddha, some of the young people that met them, looked at them first like they were playing a game. It was a joke. And then they were more shocked when they found out, how are you black like me and you can't speak English? We had to get translators. There are some among us who are from England, and they talk like this, and when you hear them talk, you think, who are they? Slumber came upon us, beloved, for a time. Many of us forgot who we were and to whom we belong. We also forgot. See, there wasn't just a forgetting of who we are. There was also a forgetting of each other. There was a forgetting of how we were scattered amongst the nation. I watch many people in America when they meet brothers and sisters from other nations that have been scattered. and think, you know, it's funny. We too speak a strange language. This is not our language. This English, this Germanic dialect is not our language. So by right, we can sound strange to them as well, beloved. A spirit of slumber was upon us. We did not just forget who we are. We forgot each other. Never realizing when those slave ships moved throughout that triangular slave trade, it was our brothers and sisters, our aunts, our uncles, our cousins, our mothers, our fathers that were on those ships. Our little brother that we loved and adored, they left him in the islands with our aunts and two of our cousins. Our uncles and our older sister, they took them to South America. Like a deck of cards, they're spreading us. Us, our mother, 3 of our aunts and some of our cousins, they brought to America. Others, they kept the boat going. They took them to England, to Ireland, to France, to all those European nations and sold them. And then the Arabs were in it on the eastern coast of Africa. A slumber in part has come upon us, beloved. Again, in the last days it will be, Yah declares that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Let's go to the book of Ezekiel. Prophesy. We shall prophesy in the last days. If you remember, he sped up time. When would he speed time up? In the last days. So your sons and your daughters are prophesying. Whom are they prophesying to? Book of Ezekiel, chapter 37, verse 4. Again he said unto me, prophesy upon these bones, and say unto them, O ye dry bones, hear the word of Yahuwah. Thus says Adonai Yahuwah unto these dry bones, behold, I will cause breath to enter into you, and ye shall live. And I will lay sinews upon you, and will bring up flesh upon you, and cover you with skin, and put breath in you, and ye shall live, and ye shall know that I am Yahuwah. So I prophesied as I was commanded. And as I prophesied, there was a noise. And behold, a shaking, and the bones came together, bone to his bone. Now remember, Ezekiel is talking to the whole house of Israel. Wait a minute. Woo! We're in book of Ezekiel chapter 37, verse 11. Then said he unto me, Son of Adam, these bones are the whole house of Yasharel. Behold, they say, our bones are dried and our hope is lost. We are cut off. We are cut off for our cause. These bones are the whole house of Yasharel. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Gad, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, Nephtali, Benjamin, Joseph, Ephraim, and Manasseh, beloved. And any others that I left out. The whole house of Yasharel. How does that work with now He said, in the last days, thy sons and thy daughters shall prophesy. The spirit of Ezekiel is upon us. Wow. Ezekiel's talking. Chapter 37, verse 7. So I prophesied, and as I was commanded, and as I prophesied, there was a noise, and behold, a shaking, and the bones came together, bone to his bone. Remember the slave ships, beloved. Asher. Doesn't matter whether they mix Asher and Benjamin in the islands. It's the whole house of Yasharel. We have to recognize each other. We gotta prophesy bone to bone in order for the house to come together. It doesn't matter if some of us are in England or other European nations. It doesn't matter if we're in the islands and we speak with an accent. It doesn't matter if we come out of South America and can only speak Portuguese and Spanish. It doesn't matter if we're in America and we speak this English Germanic language that still is not our tongue. Yasharel, we prophesy to one another. Why? We are the whole house of Yasharel. And when we speak, we shall not make each other feel like strangers because you meet somebody from the islands. Don't you understand? We were on those slave ships together. That's your little brother 400 years later. Bone to bone, don't you remember? They sold him over there. Him and your aunts and your cousin, your fathers and uncles were sent into South America. Your aunts and the rest of your family, some of them are in Europe, but it's 400 years later. Prophesy. What did he tell him? Prophesy. That's why in the last days, thy sons and thy daughters shall prophesy. The spirit of Ezekiel is upon us. Prophesy to those dry bones. And I prophesied as I was commanded, and as I prophesied, there was a noise. Why? Because whether I'm in England and you talk like this, I recognize my brother. That's my sister. That's my aunt. That's my cousin. Bone, remember. And behold, there was a shaking, and the bones came together with the whole house of Yasharel. Even though I met someone who came from South America and they only spoke Spanish. Wait a minute, prophesy. And I prophesied as I was commanded, and as I prophesied, there was a noise. It's in our spirit. We're recognizing one another. And behold, a shaking. We're waking up. And the bones came together. Bone to his bone. If Asher rejects Nephtali, here's the hip bone telling the leg bone, you're different because you come from South America, and I'm from England, I'm from America, this one's from the islands. No, it's the whole house of Yasharel. Bone to his bone. That's Asher. That's Dan. That's Gad. That's Issachar. That's Nephtali. Benjamin. Reuben. Don't you see? In the last days. Why? Book of Acts, chapter 2, verse 17, in the last days it will be, Yah declares, I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. The spirit of Ezekiel is upon us. Prophesy. I'm not going to make fun of my beloved because you speak with an accent or a foreign tongue. No, that's Yasharel. What happened? We were sold all over the world. Believe me, if in the early days you could have found your little sister or your older brother or your father or your aunts, your uncles, your mother, you would not have looked at them as foreigners or the children they bear in those foreign lands. There would have been a rejoicing even upon emancipation, beloved. At the end of the Civil War, don't you know one of the very first things that the freed people did, those of us who were freed from enslavement, one of the first things they did was look for their family that had been sold away. Bone to his bone. So I prophesied as I was commanded, and as I prophesied, there was a noise. Wait a minute, I know you. And behold, a shaking. Oh, my God. Oh, I found you. And the bones came together. Bone to his bone. It doesn't matter where we are. You are Yasharel. And we're coming together, beloved. It doesn't matter how we speak. That's part of our enslavement, the residue of it. But something in our spirit knows. Something in us recognizes. Remember, for a time, a slumber came upon us. A slumber came upon us. But when we go into the book of Romans, chapter 11, verse 25, for I will not, brethren, that you should be ignorant of this mystery, lest you should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part has happened to Yasharel, until, see, it doesn't stay forever, until the fullness of the other nations come in. Prophesy, beloved. Prophesy. Prophesy. That's why in the last days, he's pouring out his spirit on us. We're prophesying like Ezekiel did in the valley of dry bones. When you go down, book of Ezekiel chapter 37, verse 11, then he said unto me, Son of Adam, these bones are the whole house of Yasharel. Behold, they say, our bones are dry. Rivers of living water are coming out of our bellies upon one another. Our bones are dry. And our hope is lost. We are cut off. Woo! Issachar is over there. Asher's over there. Zebulon's over there. Dan is over there. Gad is over there. Judah, we are here, cut off. But it's the last days now. God prophesy. We are cut off for our parts. Therefore, prophesy and say unto them, thus says Adonai Yahuwah, behold, O my people, I will open your graves and cause you to come out of your grave. Prophesy, let the spirit of Ezekiel be upon us. It doesn't matter our languages, our accents. That's Yasharel. That's bone to my bone. And in order for the whole house to stand, we need the whole body. So when we hear each other speaking in strange languages, we too must be humble enough to understand. We speak in a strange language. But in the last days, it will be, God, Yah declares, that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and daughters shall prophesy, like Ezekiel. So I prophesied as I was commanded. And as I prophesied, there was a noise, and behold, the shaking, and the bones came together, bone to his bone, just like they scattered us on those slave ships, like a deck of cards spreading us all over the world. The deck is being gathered together because the deck is the whole house of Yasharel. It's 400 years later. And now, he's speeding up time. Remember? He's sped up time so that prophecy is going out stronger and stronger. And the bones are joining together. No matter where you are in all this world, beloved, Yasharel, we are coming together. Bone to his bone. Be encouraged, beloved. Shalom.